find a second victory when I propose this, but I don't care. I don't need a seconder. My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this can pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers. You found the Backstory Podcast. I'm Harry Steele, backwoods Southern lawyer. Got my podna and client on the phone with us today. Mr. Rip, how are things in Fairhope?
Real good, real good. You can catch our recent post on Baldwin County Legal, the Rip Report, or the ripreport.com.
So I've been looking at COVID. How about you?
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing. I mean, it's like 128,800 deaths with that's in the United States alone, with 2,753,000 cases, and then worldwide we got 11 million cases and 522,000 or 23,000 now I see that have died, and yet we still have people that just don't even believe it's a problem.
So 2,767,669 cases in the U.S. And let's see where the hot spots are. So we know that Houston, Texas, and Miami-Dade are well, I almost left out Los Angeles. You know, they think it may be 1 in 10 is infected in L.A. That's unbelievable.
Oh, well, you know, we have no idea here because we have no testing.
Oh, come on, man. Look at
you can get tested if you think you've been in contact or near anybody or you have suspicions of it, but there's no qualified testing to the general public to try to identify just what the spread is. And that's the dangerous part about this.
So 735 confirmed in Baldwin County with 9 deaths.
Now you're still reading off what, a national chart?
I'm reading off John Hopkins.
Yeah, okay.
And I'll give you some Alabama numbers too. Give me 1 second. $41,362 cases confirmed.
Wow.
All right. So this is a confirmed rate in the last 14 days, right?
Right.
Gives you a little different look at things. So let me find this other article I was looking at. So you're aware that Governor Ivey extended the safer at home order day before yesterday.
Correct.
Through July 31st. And, but that does not include the beaches. They remain open. Does that make a whole lot of sense to you?
No, it's totally contrary to what they're recommending, but I don't know. I'm lost for words that how people just don't believe in this, and just don't understand the seriousness of what we're talking about. I mean, it's just mind-boggling.
All right, let's listen to this real quick.
And this is not anybody's fault or any institution's fault. Is that what we're dealing with right now is community spread in the context of a substantial proportion of the people who are getting infected do not know they're infected. They're not symptomatic. They're asymptomatic individuals. The classic paradigm of identification, isolation, and contact tracing to actually contain that is very difficult to make that work under those circumstances. You superimpose upon that the fact that even with identification, isolation, and contact tracing, often the dots are not connected. If you get on the phone and talk to people who are in some of these communities, you find that a lot of it is done by phone. And when it's done by phone, maybe half of the people don't even want to talk to one who they think is a government representative. If you live in a community that
sounds like me. Well, the hell would I want to talk to somebody from the government?
Mostly brown or black, they're in a different situation that maybe 70% of them don't really want to talk to you. You can identify a contact, but you don't isolate them because you don't have the facility to isolate them. That is what's not working. So what we're going to do, and we are doing, and you're going to be hearing about this, flooding the area of a community to get a feel for what's out there, particularly among the asymptomatics. So in other words, it's a paradigm shift because we're dealing with young people, people who are going to be asymptomatic, and people who are getting infected in a community setting, not an outbreak setting where you know who to identify, isolate, and contact trace. That's what I meant.
So a change of strategy potentially?
Well,
what did
they're learning as they're going. I mean, and they're learning stuff in the emergency rooms and treatment and coming up with different procedures and trying different things. So I guess that's what, any advancement, but, the one common denominator that everybody seems to not want to do, particularly in our area, is the mask. But yet the data from all over the world supports using the mask.
All right, so watch this.
Public Health just rolled out a new color-coded map.
That's right, Kim. Within the last few hours, the state launched a new color-coded COVID map to navigate Alabamans through this pandemic.
We need to do the basics that we've been told by the medical community that we need to do. Let's just do it.
Governor Kay Ivey urges folks to take personal responsibility in order to protect themselves and others from the coronavirus.
It takes us all to be vigilant and adhering to these social distancing guidelines in order to stop the spread.
The state created a tool to help with the spread. Alabama Department of Public Health rolled out this new color-coded map of the state. Each of the 67 counties are colored red, orange, yellow, or green, all shades associated with the risk of COVID over the past 14 days, ranging from very high to low.
It's something that can be used.
So they're even telling us, Baldwin County, you have an extremely high risk of getting COVID-19. So why in the hell wouldn't you do something that protects everyone and wear a mask?
Now you have
anything.
You got local numbers too, didn't you? Some fresh local numbers?
Yeah, let me see if I can get that up here. There's only one place we know to get these numbers, which is why we're looking here.
Right. Now this, from what I understand, this list was the effort of the mayor in Fairhope, and she'd been trying like 3 months where there was an accurate list and all of the rumors and everything else could be dispelled by going to a spot and seeing the list.
Well, this is a list based on zip code. They're giving you the number of the cases, the date the case was reported, and the zip code for Fairhope. And so then you see the totals there, confirmed 111 in the 36532 zip code, with 4 deaths. Just under 3,000 tests have been administered in that zip code.
3,000, and you have 20,000 you have 20,000, I think, no, 20,000 inside the city of Fairhope and 20,000 right outside, but I think in that same zip code.
All right, so finish me up on COVID, Paul.
Oh, well, jump over to Lanyap, and there's 2 articles there. Dispatches from the Mask Mania. That's from Damn the Torpedoes by the editor Rob Holbert, giving his impression on the mask. And I have to agree with him. Trying to sit in a room with a mask on would be just torture. But like I said before, the most common thing that we know works is the mask. And then there's a doctor's orders written by Dale Leash looking to pass mask mandate, council to hold special meeting. Now that was Mobile. We now know that Mobile has passed a mask ordinance, as well as Tuscaloosa and a couple of other locations. Here's the thing, Harry, I wish people would just, think about common sense. Ask your doctor and your nurse that you know here, ask them about masks. They're wearing the mask in the hospital. Some of them are getting sick even with the mask, but the very vast majority of them are not because they're wearing a mask.
All right. So you and I belong to a Facebook group which is extremely conservative. Would you agree with that?
Our Facebook?
No, sir. The Baldwin Citizens for Government Accountability.
Oh, yeah, I was going
The
to say.
majority of those people are extremely conservative, and the people who curate that recently kicked a bunch of people off for talking foolishness about masks and just basically putting out information that was untrue. So I think that's a real shift to see.
Well, I think that
conservative site like that moving people.
Well, people that are using social media to add to the hype of not using a mask, comparing it to automobile deaths and the flu and all these crazy dynamics that they want to bring into it, are not helping. They're not helping at all. This could be a financial disaster all over again if we have to shut down. And the least thing you could do is wear a mask. You wear a seatbelt. If you don't wear a seatbelt, you can get a ticket. Okay, but you wear a seatbelt. Why? For your own safety. Well, for somebody else's safety, please wear a mask.
All right, so let's talk about the lack of leadership in Alabama. What is it?
We don't have enough time.
What does it say to you when Mayor Woodrow Woodfin, what's his name? The mayor of Birmingham.
I think it is Woodson.
Woodfin, I think that's it. So he comes out when his city's under siege of COVID and says we're gonna require everybody to wear a mask. Mobile has followed suit, Selma, some other places. So what does it say to you when we have zero leadership at the state level and these mayors are having to stick their necks out politically to do the right thing because there's no leadership at the state level?
Look, the buck has been passed all the way from the top. All the way from the top. First, they pass it down to the states and put the burden on the states and had the states competing with one another to get medical equipment. Now the states are turning around doing the same thing and saying, oh, well, it's the mayors that need to make these decisions. Then the mayors make the decisions. Well, there's no right answer. But I can tell you, I was encouraged today. I saw, I believe it was on Fairhope Always, a Facebook site, and they were doing a poll. And at the time that I looked at it, it was like 1/3 of the people were opposed to wearing a mask and 2/3 were for wearing a mask. So that's very encouraging there.
All right. So Pam and I got a flyer in the mail the other day.
Oh, boy.
And it had Jerry Carl photoshopped into the creature from the Swamp Thing. If you remember the 1950s first underwater movie.
I think they filmed that in Panama City somewhere.
The Club for Growth is spending millions of dollars. I don't know how much money they're spending, but they're spending a ton of money on advertising. They really want Hightower in there, and I, for the life of me, can't figure out how the Club for Growth would be opposed to the candidate that's been who did he get a endorsement from? The U.S. Chamber of Commerce the other day?
Correct. Jerry Carl just got that endorsement. Of course, you know, Bradley Byrne, and then he's had several others too. But just the ads that Hightower, I call him Low Tower, that Low Tower is running, they're ridiculous, man. They are stupid, damn things I have ever seen in my life. But the biggest distinction between Jerry Carl and Mr. Low Tower is catalyst. That's the biggie right there. You do not want a catalyst candidate going into Congress. Trust me, folks. We're trying to get them out of Baldwin County. The last thing we want to do is send them to Washington. Now this election is coming up on the 14th. It's right on top of us. So please, people, particularly Fairhope and the rest of this area, Mr. Carl won in the first part, almost the entire 4.5 counties in his district. But the Catalyst group in Fairhope is the one pushing Mr. Lowtower, stands to reason. And we'd like to flip that. And I think Daphne kind of went for Lowtower too. So we're trying to flip that and get people to realize just how dangerous this Catalyst thing is. Well, now it's going to be called Scott Boone Consulting, I think, Harry. They had to change your name. Catalyst became so toxic.
Yeah, I want to see the documents before I comment on that.
Yeah, right. I do too. I thought that was real creative to come up with the name Scott Boone Consulting, since he was the one that had Catalyst.
All right, man. So you give us the RIP report.
Well, one of the things I want to report to people is on the Paula Donardi case. That's the Mcsharry case where she was knocked off a bar stool. We went to council meeting, I guess about 4 or 5 weeks ago now. And basically the mayor, the audience, and myself were told that new charges would be filed, and we didn't know what we were talking about with the assault charges being dropped, and that the city attorney for Fairhope had it totally under control. As we understand it, nothing has happened. There has been no new charges filed. Nothing at all has been happened at all. And on another note, the Attorney General, who has the Robert Brown complaint, Mr. Brown took the Arts and Fairhope Art Center. He took that contract, also had the contract for the soccer field. So you can bet that he wants to get reelected, because he's already got about $1 million worth of contracts under his belt in the first 4 years. So we may refile that complaint with the Ethics Commission. One of the things that people in Fairhope could do is they just had a special meeting yesterday, and it addressed 2 different issues. One was the clock issue downtown, where they're paying this ridiculous price for this clock. And they were about to close on the clock, and from what I understand, the mayor asked the attorney, if city attorney said, "Did you check about those gas tanks?" And nobody had, and they were about to close on the property. So now they're having to spend another $17,000-18,000 to figure out how to get the tanks out of the ground, and that's just to figure out how to do it. And so God knows what that clock is going to cost. Then
Well,
go ahead.
I have a sneaking suspicion. So I have run across this before in the practice of law. And there is a database. There's one person that works at ADM, and her job is to maintain the database of all of these properties that have underground storage tanks on them. Now, here's the trick. If it was before 1984, they were grandfathered.
Yeah.
So they may or may not have to actually remove them, but if they're on the list,
yeah, they have to do something.
They're going to do anything. You know, if they're just going to let it sit there with a clock on it, maybe and not disturb it. But there's a lot that goes into having a gas tank, and every once in a while, the state will come around and do a tank tightness test where they actually force air into it, make sure there are no leaks. So,
well, the thing
I'm sure that one hasn't been done on that. And the question is did they fill it up with concrete when they covered the tanks?
Well, here's what gets me.
Them? What do we know?
Here's what gets me is that this whole thing started about they wanted this little hotel to be built there that was pretty interesting type of hotel, and small. And so anyway, the city council started telling me, this is the backstory. The city council starts telling them, you got to do this, you got to do that. And basically, the owner accuses the city council of trying to blackmail him. And he gets all the way frustrated to the point to where he's about to sue him. And then finally the city says, well, you know what? We'll buy that square. And what gets me is that these gas tanks have been there forever, and nobody understood. Nobody said anything about it. So what happened was the city had to buy it, and then the city bought the liability of the tanks. And this guy got about $500,000. So, you know, it's just a comedy of errors. And Council President Burell, one of his great negotiating deals. But anyway, we'll see where it goes from here. Now, in that same meeting, and I encourage people to go to the meeting, because here's the part. It's only 25 minutes. You can go to the Fairhope site. You can go to YouTube. Click on YouTube. It'll take you. Go to the special called meeting was yesterday. And here's the point that I'm trying to make. These council people that are in council now have made a pledge among themselves not to do anything that the mayor, they want to restrict everything that they possibly can. So yesterday, in yesterday's meeting, it was about coming up with, now we just talked about the list with COVID, and it was all listed by zip code, answers a lot of questions to everybody. So the mayor was copying some programs that other cities had, and it listed all the businesses in Fairhope, inside and outside Fairhope. No matter what you did, it was on this one major list. And the council refused to go along with making this list. This is a public list. Nobody gets, this is just for the city and businesses outside the city. It would have been good for everybody. But they weren't going to do it for the sole reason that they thought it was her idea. And she tried to profess to them, look, this is what other cities do. But this will give you a good insight as to what I'm talking about, because this has been going on for 3.5 years, folks, people that don't follow this. You know, anything, the mayor, staff, or whatever comes back, they push back. If it were not for this mayor and the public works and the city employees, the sewer issues in Fairhope would not have been answered. So anyway,
well, they by now they got sued by ADM because they ain't doing it fast enough.
Correct. That's the unfortunate thing, is that the past mayor did nothing for 16 years. We elect a new mayor. She inherits this problem. She's the first one to take on it. Has a sewer and septic plan online. You can go to look at it. Projects going on all over the city, which never happened before. And then we get the attorney general to come, and he's going to sue us for the sewer, but he's not going to look into white collar crime involving our city council. So what does that tell you? That tells you that the attorney general also took money from Catalyst during his election. And that's the interesting point, Harry, is that this Catalyst group has taken in well over $1 million. All right. We can see where the money goes out, but we can't see where the money's coming in. Who's giving the money?
All right.
Go ahead, you take it.
All right. So I want to talk about a book that I'm reading. It's called Shadow Government Southern Style. It was written by Tommy Gallion III. Now, if anybody who listened to Paul Feinbaum's radio show has probably heard of the name Tommy Gallion. He represented a couple of coaches in a lawsuit against the NCAA. Do you remember that, Paul? Do you follow the Feinbaum and listen to all that?
He called, let's see, how did he say that about and he describes the National College Athletic Association, NCAA, as the most corrupt organization anywhere aside from the mafia or a corrupt police force. That's pretty hardcore.
So you remember back when we went we went to Montgomery, and I took those pictures of the statues and whatever around.
Right.
Well, one of the statues was of Albert Patterson. And one of the first stories in the book is the death of Attorney General-elect Albert Patterson, the fact that the governor and the Attorney General of the state, well, the Attorney General of the state of Alabama was definitely in on his demise, as well as the sheriff and some of these other local government officials there in Phoenix City. And anyway, it's an incredible book, and the most significant case centers around former Governor Bob Riley and what the author refers to as the cabal.
Right.
You familiar with that?
Right. Right.
And the funny thing is, in his prologue, he says, I'm not changing any names. I dare anyone to sue me because I'd love to get you on the stand under oath. Now, that's exactly what we've been doing with this podcast.
That's exactly what we've been doing with this podcast, and it's exactly what I've been doing with the RIP Report for the last 16 years. And folks, the RIP Report is a not-for-profit. It is a consumer association trying to inform the consumer. On Gallion, he in the article, that's that article you're quoting from MontgomeryIndependent.com.
Yes.
Gallion does an excellent job of showing just how crooked and dishonest the judicial system can be, both federal and state level. And then he goes, now that's something that we have recited, or I have recited as long as I've been doing this. And then the other thing that he states is, he explains how so many of our elected officials carry the Christian banner and trumpet their God-fearing ways, yet get into cahoots with Christian leaders to perpetuate lies about others, raise money, and win elections. Because of the corruption he has seen on both sides of the fence, Gallion no longer has association with either major party and is strictly independent. That goes along with me, folks. I'm independent as well.
Well, I can
Sounds
tell.
like a good book.
Well, so here's what's funny. I'm sitting there reading this book, and I'm reading about the prosecution of Milton McGregor and all the hubbub going on, and I'm sitting there thinking, let me think of where I was. Let's see. I was in Gadsden, Alabama, and it's interesting reading a book about something contemporary where you were involved in government at the same time. Certainly not involved in any of this horse mess, but you know what I'm saying. It's an interesting book, and he does bring it up to the present. And if you want to know what's really going on, we've said it a couple of times. We've heard it a lot. I don't know what truth there is to it, but that Bob Riley and Joe Bonner are running the state of Alabama.
Right. People, if you want to read a good book, Shadow Government Southern Style by Tommy Gallion, and Harry, we'll try to get him on the show sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to him. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So since Rain's isn't here, you have to indulge me again, okay?
Okay. I hope it's not for long.
I hope not.
Back to CBS this morning, the woman accused of helping alleged sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein recruit and abuse underage girls is in jail this morning. FBI agents arrested Ghislaine Maxwell yesterday, nearly 1 year to the day after Epstein was arrested. She faces 6 charges, including illegally transporting minors and perjury. Epstein killed himself in a federal detention center in New York City last August.
Wink, wink.
Awaiting trial. And Mola Lenghi has been following the Epstein case for a long time now. Mola, good morning. It's been about 24 hours since this news broke of Ghislaine Maxwell's arrest. What are Epstein's accusers now saying about it?
That really doesn't matter. What matters is she was arrested, and she was in the U.S. the whole time, hiding out in a 200-acre estate that she bought for $1 million through an LLC. Who else do we know that buys shit through LLCs to disclose?
Oh, that'll be coming up on the Freaky Friday report when I get to it in a minute. Cattle is stacking the deck, but she was in New Hampshire, wasn't she?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
So one more, and I'll have said all I need to say. Now, this goes back to the Black Lives Matter stuff, and everybody knows who Woodrow Wilson was, right?
It's just not appropriate to have Woodrow Wilson representing the school.
A decades-old designation honoring a U.S. president at one of the most prestigious schools in the country is about to change as Princeton University distances itself from Woodrow Wilson in the name of racial justice. Saturday night, I'm Walter Perez. The big story on Actions at 10 is Princeton removing President Wilson's name from its Public Affairs College. The Board of Trustees' decision came down late yesterday, citing Wilson's racist views and policies. Action News reporter Bob Brooks joins us live from Princeton, New Jersey, with reaction from campus. Bob.
I don't really have anything else to say about that, but just another overreaction in my opinion. I have a master's degree in public administration, and the father of public administration, or the dichotomy of the political and administration dichotomy, was put forward by Woodrow Wilson. I think naming the School of Public Policy at Princeton after him is appropriate, but apparently he was a man of his time, and a man of his time is not. We don't want to have a building named after him. There you go.
Yeah. Well, admittedly, there is quite a bit of overreaction. Getting back to Lagniappe and a couple of things, Harry is also looks like Lagniappe's back on track again. People, you want to get in the music scene, which is pretty big in Mobile. They got quite a bit of information about it. Also, Lagniappe was awarded for excellence in journalism. And this was Alabama Press Association and the Society of Professional Journalists. In editorial first place was Jason Johnson on the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office report for the fatal roadside shooting of Jonathan Victor. That's one of 4 different cases where people lost their life dealing with the Sheriff's Department. We've yet seen one accurate explanation offered by the Sheriff's Department. The another award was, I'm just reading some of this, you can see these in Lagniappe, but the first place for Best News Feature Story Coverage was Sunken Treasure, a reporter's remarkable account of finding the last slave ship by Ben Raines. That was excellent. He's an excellent writer and producer. That was extremely good production, and I'm sure that that's going to be around for a while too. Let's see, under the division winner, Lagniappe for Sunken Treasure again was Ben Raines, highest award that was given. Then in category winners, first place was the Tennesaw Time Bomb, this was by Dale Leash, Jason Johnson, Gabriel Times, and Rob Holbert. And that's about the Perry steam plant, the coal ash, and trying to get everybody to wake up to what's going on, and nobody's paying attention. In feature writing, Ben Raines again, that's 3 awards for him. First place he took. Second place was Sex Trafficking in Southwest Alabama by Lynn Oldshoe. That was a very, very good series of articles and a very tough topic to write about. Under investigative reporting, third place was the Strawman series by Gabe Times and Rob Holbert. I don't know what first and second.
Which needs its own category.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, Harry. This says third place. I'd like to see what was first and second. The Strawman series is right in your face with everybody in Baldwin County. We've had it on the podcast. We've written on it on RIP Report, Baldwin County Legal, other places. And yet no one has, not our district attorney, our sheriff, no one has taken any action to look into the criminal activity surrounding the Strawman issue. The center story, cover story in Lagniappe is Best of the Class about Apple's CEO Tim Cook, who went to Robertsdale High School, and a very interesting article and quite something Robertsdale High School should be proud of and should inspire people.
Baldwin County School. So this is what I keep trying to tell everybody about the Baldwin County school system. You can be anything you want to be. The opportunity is here for you to learn. Now, if you want to go to school and grab ass and drug deal, you're probably not going to graduate from Harvard one day or be the CEO of Apple. But there are a few of us that took our education seriously, and we did all right.
The biggest problem with our schools right now is it has nothing to do at all with the teachers. It's that we are going through this boom and developers are just absolutely just let free to do whatever the hell they want. There's no impact for the schools directly. In fact, they're fighting that over in Pensacola now. You know, you look at Fairhope High School and people say, oh, we need another wing. No, hell no, you need another school. Okay, look at the other schools. Look at the junior schools and those schools. Those are all crowded too. Where do you think those kids are going to be? You know, and that's something that people need to consider is that when we're talking about the Triangle Park or we're talking about the waterfront park, you need to be paying attention because you have people that are wanting to kill these projects or do something with it that are 77 years old. Come on. That's you. They're making a decision for your kids. Think about what you're doing. Go to these meetings. Also, the last thing on Lanyap is the NAPPY Awards for 2020. The winners are going to be announced August 5th. So be sure you cast your ballot on the NAPPY Awards. The next thing I got is Freaky Friday, which is on the Rip Report, Baldwin County Legal, ripreport.com, and shared with a lot of other sites. This one, like I said, folks, I've been doing this 16 years. If it's in Fairhope and it's a dirty political trick, I can tell you I have seen it. So what I am going to tell you is I am going to tell you in ahead what they're going to do. So that way you can't say that it's a conspiracy theory because I'm telling you and then it's going to happen. All right, Catalyst stacking the deck. What I'm talking about there is this Catalyst organization is very shrewd. They may run 2 or 3 people for the same office, just hoping for a runoff. That's what we're looking at there in Fairhope is that there's a poll out gauging the candidates for mayor, and Mayor Kant is contemplating coming back in and running. And then there's somebody else that's going to run for mayor. So you have 3 running for mayor. And what they do is they try to get into the runoff and then hope that they can squeeze it out in the runoff. However, 2 of the 3 of the same mindset, which is Catalyst. A lot of times you don't hear about that. So that's how they stack it. And then also you're going to have faux candidates. And we had faux candidates in this last city council. This city council sitting in Fairhope right now is the worst city council I've seen in the last 5. Okay. And their decisions are based on who is doing what and inside deals. The faux candidates, now what they have also been doing is they'll take a faux candidate. By that I mean it'll be a candidate that says, okay, I'm running for office and I got my own mind and I think my way and nobody's paying me and I'm going to settle all these problems and we're not going to argue or anything. Then you find out that that person is sitting there as a faux candidate for Catalyst. Now, when it comes to Mayor Kant getting back in, I really find it hard that he would, because he's the one that supported all the developers, caused the Fly Creek apartments, the BP fraud, misuse of FEMA funds, the Triangle lawsuit, airport corruption, and pollution in the Bay, and of course his total neglect of the infrastructure. But
the flowers look great.
Pardon? Oh yeah, the flowers look great. Now,
fantastic.
One thing that has happened that is very, very encouraging is that in place 5, on place 5, we have someone, Joshua Gammon, Gammon. Joshua is a young man that works at the Grand Hotel. He's going to be challenging Kevin Boone in place 5, which means we need 4 more people, and we definitely need someone to challenge Jack Burell. Jack Burell, Boone, and Brown are the 3 that really need to go. But anyway, Joshua is going to qualify next week. I'm not being too harsh, am I, Harry?
Hey, man, I can't believe you don't have a list of people 4 deep. Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have a roster of people you've talked into running for office in Fairhope at this point.
Well, I can understand where people have one or two. That, first of all, they don't like confrontation. Second of all, some people are under the illusion that it costs them a lot to run for office. What they have to understand is that this election in Fairhope, first of all, it's going to be the second fair election that we know where we don't think any tampering is going on. And then the next thing is we forecasted even before COVID that it was going to be a highly popular social media election. Okay, well, now with COVID, that has increased. And I would say that probably of the voting public, as much as 80 to 85% are going to have some sort of social media exposure. Right. But we need some more people to step up. I know of a couple of other people that are considering running. We sure hope that that happens next week. One of the things that you may see around town, you have some flyers that are non-productive and meant to be controversial and very political. And then you have another flyer that's going around that says, "Attention Fairhope citizens. Attention Fairhope. Next municipal election will determine its ability to maintain cherished values, as well as its unique way and quality of life. Unbridled development threatens the integrity of our school system, placing an unfair burden on our teachers. If you are a mother or father of a young family, you should consider strongly running for city council. Your voting demographic can swing the election in favor of new progressive candidates. However, we need young mothers and fathers to
How
vote."
about new conservative candidates?
Well, same conservative.
Hell, any new blood on that council would be good.
Correct. But, you know, I've heard people, you know, they question the word progressive. There's nothing dirty with the damn word progressive, for Christ's sakes, you know? I mean, really, but however, we need young mothers and fathers to vote and get involved. The time is now. Stand up to the voiceless youth in our, stand up for the voiceless youth in our community and be heard. Fairhope has many challenges ahead. It needs leaders. The time is now. It couldn't be any more than now, folks. And next week, we will try to bring you a update on several elections, like who's running in which municipalities, who's qualified, and everything else. Now, as I said, Harry, there's a couple of flyers going around town. We had the waterfront issue with Fairhope come up about 2 weeks ago when the op-ed, The Grandiose Disaster in Making by Howell Raines was written, and a op-ed by the mayor, A Plan for Resilience on the Waterfront. And Mr. Raines went into a not constructive at all article and brought in totally the politics of the issue, which was not germane at all to the issue of the park. Now, one thing Mr. Raines is not mentioning, and we'll go back over here in a minute, is any ADA compliance. And I know you're familiar with that, Harry.
Yeah.
We have military veterans. We also have a retirement community here. And one of the big features of this waterfront is to provide those people with a way to get down to the bottom, to the beach, to where they can enjoy it. Okay. And so it has to be ADA compliant. Mr. Raines never says anything about that, but I will quote him on what he said in the first article is, and this is his quote, "My conclusion is the entire project is born of political desperation and imaginary problems. Mayor Wilson needs a signature project on which to run for re-election, and she has in hand a $6.2 million Restore Act grant that comes with inconvenient legal strings attached to it." That is making the issue, folks, political. That's what it's about. Now, Mr. Burell has weighed in and Mr. Howell has weighed in on the trees. I can't believe it. The trees. They're going to take down a few trees. How about everybody that went to those Publix meetings? You remember that? You remember going to the apartment complex? On the Publix project, they cut down $1 million worth of trees. No one ever paid a dime. No one ever said anything. So, you know, keep in mind. And also, Mr. Raines speaks about Fly Creek, and there's some erosion north of Fly Creek, but the problem is only for houses built too close to the edge of the creek. That is complete, absolute BS. Fly Creek has been impacted tremendously by the Fly Creek apartments and the Publix project itself, really.
All right, so I'm gonna give some free advice.
Okay.
To the people in Fairhope.
Yeah, because I got more to say on this.
So Mr. Raines and Mr. Burell want to make this a political issue.
Correct.
The mayor has come out and said, hey, it's not a political issue. It's not my plan. It's the community's plan. And if y'all want to go back to the drawing board square one, I really don't care. She's diffused it. Let it go.
Well, correct. But now one of the things, though, that's big, Harry, is that ADA compliance. Okay. And that, and also.
So, Paul, let me put it like this. You can't build this project without concrete, nor can you build it without complying with the ADA, the requirements of the law, because federal money is involved.
Correct.
So those issues are things that are completely outside of the control of the mayor's influence. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, look, hey, let's call it what it is.
It's political horseshit.
That's right. Hal Raines is replacing Chuck E. Cheese. Okay. He's the new Catalyst editor and political whatever. But this week,
let's call him what he is. He's a mouthpiece.
Well, this week, you know, first he had an op-ed. Now he has a letter to the editor. So I'm glad that he's been relegated back down from op-edding. But people in Fairhope, look, this plan is not over. They want your participation, but there are flyers being handed out that say, stop the plan. And then there's in red letters, things like bulldozing the bluff and the parks. That's false.
This is no different than the Swamp Thing flyer that I got in the mail about Jerry Carl. It is a bunch of political horse shit. And let's please move on.
Okay.
I don't know what to say about it. We can continue to talk about all the things that they're saying that aren't true. We know they're not true because we've been to the meetings and we can read.
Correct. And I plan on writing a letter to the editor to answer the letter to the editor. Okay.
All right, so look, I got one thing I want to talk about real quick. I'll let you have it. So this guy right here is one of I'll say there are 50 professional city and county managers in the state of Alabama. That ain't many considering we have 300 municipalities and 67 counties. But there are about 50 members of the Alabama City County Management Association. And this guy's name is Brett Thomas. He is the city manager of Brundage. And he is a mentor and friend and all around fantastic person. And he has cancer, is my understanding. And just wanted to wish him well. One of the good guys, boys.
Oh, how many people you know in Baldwin County or Alabama that have a doctorate in planning?
Wayne, I think Wayne's got a master's.
Right.
I don't know anybody with a PhD. It's just more, if you're a practitioner, you know, you go get your master's and you get your AI American certification, AICP, your credentials as a planner, and that's really all you need. Unless you're going to teach, you don't need a PhD.
No, that's all you need. I'm just saying, I think credentials count, and I just happen to know that the only individual that I have ever heard of that had a doctorate in that And when you speak to him, it's perfectly obvious, is Dr. Warner, Chris Warner.
Well, you met
who's written,
who came down to help with the city manager form of government question. And I know Sam has a master's degree in planning. So a lot of people in the city management field have a planning background, which comes in handy, because no offense, but pretty much anybody can throw a budget together. It ain't rocket science, but nuance and principles of planning are hard.
Well, let's let me make an invitation to everybody to please stay tuned to us, the RIP report and everything else, where we're on social media. We're going to try to bring you up to date what's going on in the next 2 weeks, and look forward to this next election, and hopefully we will find somebody that challenges everybody in the Fairhope City Council, that they are entirely challenged. But we have other areas like Baymonette, Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, and some of those places are not too happy with their mayors, and it's disheartening to hear that at some of these locations there's nobody running for anything.
Well, I don't know. I've heard that Mayor Wills may run unopposed again in Baymonette with all of the information that we've given to people in documentation. So I don't know what it's going to take. So Paul, and this is as informative for you as it, and we need to make a decision about this next week. I have the former director of the Southwest Alabama Police Academy and a couple of his instructors who have agreed to join us and talk about police training, or the lack thereof, in our area since SWAPO was co-opted and the money sent elsewhere.
Right.
So, and so we need to make a decision if we're going to do one podcast with those guys involved, or do two separate podcasts, one with them and one with the RIP report and all our regular stuff. I think it'll depend on rankings.
I see what you're saying. Probably the best thing to do, Harry, is do two.
And just to keep everybody informed, the captain is under the weather, and we won't know for 4 or 5 more days if he's got the SARS-CoV-2 or not. He wasn't able to join us today because of his health. So take it seriously, people.
Use a mask.
Pandemic on and all.
Please,
all right,
use
Paul,
a mask.
I'm out of here. I will see you hopefully this weekend if we can get together.
Okay. Yeah. We need to talk a little bit, and I'll try to bring my blood pressure down a little bit.
See what you can do. Y'all have a good one.
All right. God bless, and have a happy July 4th.